This is Yagyadev and I am presenting the economy survey for Empower IAS Academy. So we were discussing about how economy was developed in last pandemic period and the government takes several measures in order to cater the challenges arising in the economy. So government take forward the barbell strategy by protecting the vulnerable sections of the society. Further, government take the waterfall strategy in which decentralized planning was done and the migrant laborers as well as the vulnerable sections of society were taken care of. Then last approach was the agile framework in which the government take the loophole measures and caters the problem at the time when they were emerging. So the last chapter of economy survey discussed with the social infrastructure, the vulnerable sections, plans to cater the health facilities, to serve the food facilities, to provide nutrition, which you study in directive principles of the state policy, and it also caters the unemployment challenge that were arising in the scenario of post-pandemic and pandemic situation. So we discuss these data in the economy survey in detail. So beginning with this, it says that strong and resilient social infrastructure for the COVID affected districts and people of these societies, and it also focus on the vulnerabilities of social infrastructure. So vulnerability which we see in form of old age people, disabled peoples यानी कि विकलांग लोग, women and children. Further, it also caters the needs of minority and migrant workers. तो जब लॉकडाउन सिचुएशन इमर्ज हुआ था दोस्तों, गवर्नमेंट ने ऑल दी वल्नरेबल सेक्शंस के लिए क्यूशन के रूप में बहुत सारी योजनाएं बनाई, जिसमें कि डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर, फैसिलिटेटिंग देयर जॉब थ्रू मनरेगा, and also various kinds of facilities in terms of health, oxygen cylinder, sanitization, mask and quarantine measures were taken. So we will look into the details, the measures taken by the government in order to balance the livelihoods while saving the life also. So the last 2 years were quite challenging for the government to mitigate the challenges of COVID pandemic, in which government key focus was to provide the safety net to the vulnerable sections. This survey talks about safety net as segment of society as well as providing the cushion to the problematic sections of the society who were feeling challenges due to the COVID pandemic situation. 93% of 18 years and above age children were taken care of by providing first dose of COVID vaccine. तो 18 साल और उससे अधिक उम्र के जो बच्चे बच्चियां हमारे स्कूल जाने वाले, कॉलेज जाने वाले छात्र थे, उनको वैक्सीनेशन दिया गया in first round and that was a number of 93%. Remember this data for your teams as well as means point of view, and about 70% of these 18 and above people in second dose of COVID vaccination. तो first round में 93%, second round में 70% of people were covered in the vaccination. Now, so the main things which we studied in the survey in past 2 years, that how employment was catered by the government. So employment in terms of migrant labor was provided through Manrega and skill development facilities. So these data are collected by periodic labor force survey, which we discuss here in the economy survey. Periodic labor force survey जो कि NSO National Statistics Organization का part है, and it is a part of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Which ministry? Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So NSO collects the data via periodic labor force survey, and which shows that the average employment rate was declining, although government focused more on the weekly status approach, and the person is considered to be unemployed if he or she is not able to work फॉर एन आवर विद इन अ वीक, यानी कि एक सप्ताह के अंतर्गत कोई भी व्यक्ति 1 घंटे भी काम करने में असक्षम है, देन ही इज काउंटेड एज अनएम्प्लॉयड पर्सन अकॉर्डिंग टू पीरियोडिक लेबर फोर्स सर्वे. Second is the gross enrollment ratio. So in terms of education sector, the gross enrollment ratio covers the percentage of eligible official school age population. Despite of any age of person, the people who are going to the school and who are eligible to take the education. So the ratio of total school going and educational population to the ratio of total population is called as gross enrollment ratio. Remember this important definitions for your mains point of view. Okay. Now next is the life expectancy. Life की expectancy कितनी हो रही है, that age of survival of the person, and it is the statistical measure of the average time an individual is expected to live based on the year of his current age and other demographic factors like sex. So किसी व्यक्ति की एक एवरेज आयु उसकी लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी को दर्शाती है, which is defined over here. And next is the total fertility rate, and it is rate at which the women can produce a child during her life birth. So the total fertility rate is the sum of the age specific fertility rate for the all women multiplied by 5, that is sigma of age of all women fertility into 5 equals to total fertility rate. Now next is vaccination is scale and speed has enabled revival of livelihood. जीविका को बढ़ाने के लिए वैक्सीनेशन काफ़ी कारगर साबित हुआ है. सो इफ पीपुल आर हेल्दी दे आर एबल टू वर्क. सो वैक्सीनेशन पहले किया गया दोस्तों, उसके बाद उन लोगों को रोजगार पे लगाया गया. सो एज पर द लेटेस्ट अवेलेबल डेटा, स्कूल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बोथ इन टर्म्स ऑफ नंबर ऑफ रिकॉग्नाइज्ड स्कूल, कॉलेजेस, बेसिक फैसिलिटीज as well as the pupil teacher ratio. Remember this ratio, that is pupil यानी कि जो बच्चे स्कूल जा रहे हैं to the teacher who are teaching ratio was quite improved. So what government take the measure in terms of creating a gross education ratio by providing online education to the lockdown people who were sitting at their house. तो बच्चों के लिए ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन सरकार ने जारी करवा दिया. The next is the government has undertaken multiple initiative revolutionizing the higher education ecosystem. हायर एजुकेशन इकोसिस्टम को रिवोल्यूशनाइज करने के लिए एक सरकार ने ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन प्रिवेल किया, जिसमें कि ग्रेजुएशन, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन स्टूडेंट, इवन द पीएचडी स्टूडेंट कैन टेक द एजुकेशन ऑनलाइन. So 3 measures taken by the government. First, enabling the people to take online education as higher vocationalization. Second, the greater multiple disciplinary research. And the third is the providing multiple entries and exit points. Multiple entries हो सकती हैं and multiple exits can be made in any education institutions. Remember these 3 measures for your prelims as well as mains point of view. तो प्रीलिम्स में ऐसे क्वेश्चन पूछे जा सकते हैं दोस्तों, दैट व्हाट आर द मेजर्स, और सपोज द मेजर्स गिवन बाय द फॉलोइंग ऑप्शंस आर करेक्ट और नॉट. ओके, सो A, B, C, D can be the option, so you have to choose the correct one. Now next is promoting globalization of education, in which the education institutions catering the education in which MBA is online, then BBA, then BTech, and all such courses became online, in which any person who is willing to take the education can go online and cater the education global at the global universities, studying in his same country, that is distance education. Now last is the leveraging of potential of information and communication technology in the teaching and learning process for all learned persons. So education through information and communication technology, that means a digital education by screen-based education at the home. That is a term of online education that was provided in the COVID pandemic situation. Then National Family Health Survey data NFSH5 shows that the encouraging outcome of the government measures taken to develop the education and socio-economic infrastructure and total fertility rate improvement from 2015-16, that was 2.2 to 2 in 2019 and 2021. यानी कि फर्टिलिटी रेट जो कि 2.2 था इम्प्रूव टू 2 परसेंटाइल इन 2019 and 2020. Now under this Jal Jeevan mission, Har Ghar Jal mission, government has provided tapped water connectivity to the rural as well as urban areas. So हर घर जल मिशन में गवर्नमेंट ने पाइपलाइन बिछा के गांव में पानी टंकी लगा के वहां से पाइपलाइन एंड टेकिंग द टैप वाटर सप्लाई इन द हाउस होल्ड. सो दैट वाज पार्ट ऑफ हर घर जल डिस्ट्रिक्ट एंड जल जीवन मिशन. नाउ इंडियाज हेल्थ रिस्पॉन्स टू द कोविड-19 एज द रेस्ट्रिक्शंस पार्शली लॉकडाउन. सो पहला स्टेप लॉकडाउन लगाया गया. सेकेंड स्टेप capacity building in health infrastructure by providing oxygen cylinders and providing the sanitation measures and providing the immediate vaccines in terms of remdesivir, hydroxychloroquine. So the next is the COVID appropriate behavior. That means need to cater the behavioral change in the persons itself by influencing their thought. That means लोगों को ये सचेत करना कि अगर आप स्वच्छता के मेजर्स नहीं अपनाएंगे then it will lead to a disease of your body and it will also spread the disease to the society. तो व्यवहारिक परिवर्तन, that means a behavioral change in by making testing, tracking, treatment and vaccination drive was done by government. Next is the measures were taken to break the chain of transmission and containment facilities were influenced in the country as well as various sectors of these cities as well as industries also. So all where we see that there was quarantinization, then there was lockdown, then there was phase wise home to home, door to door checkup was done. Then preventive strategy change response in changing scenario when there is certain suspect and testing capacity in the country increased exponentially. Test for COVID-19 also helped via increasing various kind of testing capacities. पहले testing हो रही थी, then there was ambulance which went home to home, door to door to check any person is COVID affected, having antigen, having certain sneezing cough syndrome or not. That again helped India to come out of this kind of scenario. Also rapid antigen testing kits for faster screening were introduced. Manufacturing capacity of N95 mask, जो मास्क बन रहे थे N95, उनकी भी फ्रिक्वेंसी इंक्रीज कर दी गई. In which the लघु कुटीर उद्योग यानी कि MSME were came out as well as NGOs and self-help groups who came out. So बहुत सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने मास्क बनाना शुरू किया, जिसमें महिला ग्राम उद्योग वो भी सामने आया और महिलाओं ने गांव में बैठे बैठे अपनी मशीन चलाई, मास्क बनाया और घर घर तक मास्क वितरण किया. देन ऑल्सो प्रोटेक्टिव इक्विपमेंट किट्स बनाए गए, सैनिटाइजर्स बांटे गए एंड लीड्स टू अ मिशन मोड. देन मासिव इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वाज क्रिएटेड फॉर आइसोलेशन बेड्स. आइसोलेशन बेड्स के लिए मैसिव इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाया गया and dedicated intensive care unit beds, ICU beds बनाया गया and supply of medicine oxygen. तो हम देख रहे थे मित्रों कैसे गांव में भी एक स्कूल को या किसी भी पुराने हॉस्पिटल को एक मेडिकल यूनिट और मेडिकल होम सेट किया गया था and that was again a part of quarantine center where people who were affected taken out of their home and put into that quarantine home separately, where there was separate care by the doctor themselves in order to check the disease frequency and cater the needs of the individual. Now, to meet the exponential rise in medical oxygen demand during the second COVID wave, government, even railways, air force and navy helped the industry to create more and more oxygen supply chain to the society. यानी कि ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत को पूरा करने के लिए सरकार, एयर फोर्स, आर्मी, नेवी, they all came out to help the industry to build holistic infrastructure for the oxygen sufficiency. Fight against the coronavirus, COVID vaccines emerged as the best shield against the disease to save lives and sustain livelihood. Now, COVID vaccination strategy, guided by scientific and epidemiological evidence, World Health Organization, that means WHO, who was the nodal agency in order to provide the information about the disease, the virus, how COVID virus was affecting the body. So, in guidelines and prescriptions of WHO, Indian government and Bharat Biotech also produced the real-time medicines for Indian people, which helped a lot. And India's national COVID vaccination program has also emerged to be a national level program to check the COVID pandemic situation. Then National Expert Group on Vaccines Administration for COVID-19, NEGVAC. Remember this fact for your prelims as well as mains. What is it? It is NEGVAC, and that is basic of concurrent scientific evidence guided the program. Now, the program was envisioned for the beneficiaries above 18 years and in the shortest time interval. तो ये प्रोग्राम जो 18 वर्ष या उससे अधिक उम्र के कॉलेज गोइंग स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनकी रक्षा के लिए and to assure the health benefit to these people, it was successfully conducted, and in May it made also a Har Ghar Dastak was also organized in terms of making the movement of the medical equipment as well as the doctor and nurses to door by knocking every door, checking the rapid antigen test and taking the sample of the person who are affected. Government ensured that the COVID pandemic situation should be countered. So, the person who missed the first dose of vaccination were provided the vaccination at their home itself. That was the Har Ghar Dastak campaign. Now, second dose through house to house mobilization activity, that was Har Ghar Dastak. Then vaccines are also administered to the beneficiaries at their home through mobile teams such as vaccination toli, prachar toli. You have heard about various vans were there. ऐसे वैन गाड़ियाँ जा रही थी हर घर तक और वहाँ पे वैक्सीन्स प्रोवाइड की जा रही थी, है ना, वैक्सीन्स एट होम इटसेल्फ. तो मित्रों, हमने देखा कि सरकार ने कितने सारे मेजर्स लिए इन ऑर्डर टू कैटर द अराइजिंग सिचुएशन ऑफ कोविड पेंडेमिक. गांव-गांव तक, ट्राइबल्स इलाके, नॉर्थ ईस्ट रीजन्स, इवन द अंडमान एंड निकोबार, लक्षद्वीप, जम्मू एंड कश्मीर, everywhere government reached to the people in order to provide the surplus benefit of the medicines as well as cater the needs of the people who are facing oxygen challenges, who are lacking the medicines. इस प्रकार से कोविड पेंडेमिक को कंटेन किया गया. नाउ, ट्रेंड्स इन सोशल सेक्टर एक्सपेंडिचर. एक्सपेंडिचर के टर्म में हम देखते हैं. So, in base year 2021, central and state government put aggregate of 71.61 lakh crore, and spending on social services increased of 9.8% over 2020 and 2021. So, 71.6 lakh crores का expenditure किया गया, and next is 9.8% of increase from the earlier data, and the addition of National Health Mission. नेशनल हेल्थ मिशन, राष्ट्रीय स्वास्थ्य मिशन, इसमें कि आयुष्मान भारत एंड आरोग्य योजना, there are two plans are there. So, union budget focused on Ayushman Bharat by putting into 64,180 crore in the next 5 years for the commissioning of the health and wellness at primary, secondary and tertiary level. who were various kind of patient in terms of cancer facing and other chronic diseases, primary, secondary. So system strengthened existing national institution and credited new institutions. So national institutions such as AIMS and central government hospital, military hospital were heavily equipped with all the medicines as well as the devices. And National Health Policy 2017 vises the increasing health expenditure of 2.5% of GDP by 2025. Keeping with this objective, central and the state governments budgeted expenditure on the health sector reached to 2.1% of GDP. Remember this data, तो GDP का 2.1% health expenditure में किया गया against 1.3% in 1920. So health expenditure was quite high. You see 71.6 lakh crore spent first quarter, then again 64,180 crore for आयुष्मान भारत. तो इसे आप मेंस में कोट करेंगे. Now another point is the education system which was again suffering in the pandemic scenario. तो education system को moderate रखने के लिए and persistent रखने के लिए the government provided विद्यांजलि योजना and information by the help of information and communication technology via समग्र शिक्षा अभियान. So it was the smart classroom via समग्र शिक्षा scheme, triple S, remember it, again important fact for your prelims. And toilets for girls and boys were also introduced, separate toilets, then drinking water, hygienic clean water and hand washing, sanitization in most of the government schools, and establishing of smart classroom and ICT lab in the schools. And then for gross enrollment ratio, due to smart classroom and online education, the gross enrollment ratio quite increased to a high level, improvement of gender parity. So girls children के लिए और boys children के लिए भी again separate facilities provide की गई, home education दिया गया, and that again leads to higher gross enrollment ratio despite pandemic lockdown. तो भी ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बच्चों ने पढ़ाई की in terms of primary and upper primary and secondary level. So dropout ratio was reduced. That means ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बच्चे स्कूल जा रहे हैं और ऑनलाइन क्लास करके पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, शिक्षा ग्रहण कर रहे थे. Next is the major initiative for student during pandemic period. So remember these important facts. Now PM E-Vidya launched in May 2020. PM E-Vidya benefit the education by digital online on-air education. So digital education बना दिया गया, in which there was ज्ञानवाणी channel in All India Radio, ज्ञानवाणी, then again One Nation, One Digital Education, Diksha platform. Remember this fact, Diksha platform, एक देश एक शिक्षण संस्थान. तो दीक्षा प्लेटफॉर्म ऑनलाइन पे सभी बच्चों को घर में बैठे शिक्षा दे रही थी इन टर्म्स ऑफ टेलीविजन. वन टेलीविजन टेक्नोलॉजी थ्रू स्वयं प्रभा टीवी. सेकेंड इज स्वयं प्रभा टीवी. जैसे आप डीडी नेटवर्क देखते थे, दूरदर्शन. सो इन ऑल दोज चैनल्स देयर वेर separate educationalist professionals from IITs, IIMs and JNUs, Delhi universities and other central universities who were taking online classes on the television itself in terms to provide higher education as well as secondary level education to all the people who needs. Then extensive use of radio पे ज्ञानवाणी जैसा मैंने आपको बताया, and आकाशवाणी also providing separate education. Community radio such as in पंचायती राज इंस्टीट्यूशंस, जहाँ पे पंचायत के लोग बैठे हैं उनके लिए कम्युनिटी रेडियो एक पंचायत के लिए रखा गया और उसमें सारी योजनाएं, शैक्षणिक योजनाएं लोगों को बताई जाती थी. एंड पॉडकास्टिंग. देन नेशनल डिजिटल एजुकेशन आर्किटेक्चर, एक नया आर्किटेक्चर इन अ मिशन मोड, दैट इज नेशनल डिजिटल एजुकेशन आर्किटेक्चर लॉन्च किया गया. and which provide the digital first mindset and digital architecture, which not only support the needs of the students going to the school but also provide the class based education. Suppose someone is in 7th class or someone is in 10th or 12th class, the board class facing students के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा helpful रहा, and that provide direct education in online mode from their school themselves by registering the school which are providing the education to those students which are registered with that school. तो इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने एक प्लेटफॉर्म प्रोवाइड कर दिया. Now next is also providing diverse education ecosystem architecture. So different languages or different dialects की problem आ रही थी. Then government also created separate ecosystem in separate language entities for the educational pattern. Then there was Vidyanjali Yojana to connect the government and government aided schools through a community volunteer management program. गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स के द्वारा डायरेक्टली सभी विद्यार्थियों को जो उनसे जुड़े हुए हैं उनकी शिक्षा के लिए विद्यांजलि योजना लागू की गई, जिसमें कि ऑनलाइन शिक्षा वाया जूम मीटिंग, गूगल मीटिंग, creating the classroom by itself and taking the education, clearing the doubts in terms of math, science, physics, chemistry, biology or any humanities subject was done. That again makes the higher enrollment ratio. And it also provided for the management program, and Vidyanjali portal enables the community as well as volunteers to interact with and connect directly with the schools. यानी कि बहुत सारे स्वयं सहायता ग्रुप, NGOs एंड वॉलंटियर्स जो खुद से पढ़ाना चाहते हैं, इच्छुक हैं, वे लोग डायरेक्टली विद्यांजलि प्लेटफॉर्म पर रजिस्टर होके लॉकडाउन में पढ़ा रहे थे. दैट अगेन कीप द एजुकेशन लेवल अप इन द लॉकडाउन सिनेरियो. देन समग्र शिक्षा स्कीम that has been continued for 5 years from 2021-22, and it has a gross financial outlay of 2,94,283.4 crores. Remember this data for your prelims and mains. An integrated scheme for school education, it covers the entire gamut of preschool to class 12th. समग्र शिक्षा अभियान शिक्षा का अधिकार कैटरिंग आर्टिकल 21A of the Constitution of India, which provide there is a fundamental right for education from the age of 6 to 14 years. So समग्र शिक्षा अभियान के द्वारा गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत सारी योजनाएं इम्प्लीमेंट की, जिसमें कि ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट रेशियो बढ़ाया गया, एजुकेशन एट द होम बढ़ाया गया फ्रॉम फर्स्ट क्लास टू क्लास 12th, and that again played a huge role in leveraging the education. Now निपुण भारत मिशन, निपुण मतलब skilled person, so निपुण means making again the people highly educated. So national mission in a priority basis, actionable in the states as well as union territory to educate the children who are going to schools, and proficiency in foundational literacy. शैक्षणिक शिक्षा की दर यानी शैक्षणिक दर को बढ़ाने के लिए इस मिशन पे काम किया गया. एंड द मिशन हेल्प्स फॉर द institutionalization of all the institutions that were the part of समग्र शिक्षा via centrally sponsored scheme. Remember this fact, it was again CSS and a part of समग्र शिक्षा scheme. निपुण भारत very important. Then प्रधानमंत्री पोषण शक्ति निर्माण PM पोषण scheme. So to prevail the nutrition and adequacy of the nutrients to the school going as well as the educational students, the government provided the Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman, and it provides the national program for midday meal scheme. Earlier the midday meal was going throughout the country with having certain kind of challenges, but midday meal was covering the Bal Vatika just before class 1 and also class 1 to 8 in government and government aided schools. So कोविड पेंडेमिक में हम देख रहे हैं कैसे ट्यूशन फ्रेमवर्क दिया जा रहा है कि एजुकेशनल में कोई भी गांव के बच्चे, कोई भी ट्राइबल्स एरियाज के बच्चे या व्हाटएवर स्टूडेंट्स शुड नॉट सफर इन दिस कोविड पैंडेमिक सिनेरियो, तो उसके लिए मिड डे मील योजना को बढ़ावा दिया गया, पोषण योजना बढ़ावा दिया गया, देन निपुण स्कीम वाज आल्सो प्रिवेल्ड. सो such measure help a lot. Also, the recent initiatives taken for the higher education are as follow. So, revolutionizing the higher education ecosystem by enabling vocationalization, vocational training and skill development was increased for the higher education institutions such as BTech, BCA, etc. Then greater multidisciplinary research in terms of multiple disciplinary, in terms of various knowledge impartation, the multidisciplinary research was made. Then next is multiple entry and exit points. So entry and exit points in the colleges or institutions were increased from 1 to 3, 4, 5 points of exit. Like government has made new education policy in which a person has taken certain engineering streams such as mechanical किसी ने लिया है, now he wanted to switch to computer science or pharmacy or want to pursue medical, then he can quit that institution at that semester and can enroll into the next level at the other colleges or universities. That is the multiple entry and exit provision. Then next is promoting globalization of education by enabling the global institutions such as Harvard University, Yale or any kind of global universities to take admission directly in online module. That again prevails the higher education at globalization level. Now this can be taken as a real benefit of globalization. Now fifth is leveraging the potential of information and communication technology. So ITC से ज़्यादा मदद लेने के लिए क्या किया गया, e-library were established, their vocational training started, online training started, then online skill development training started. That again helps for the integration of vocational education into the higher education ecosystem. Then National Apprenticeship Training Scheme, people who are technically educated and want apprenticeship training in certain institutions such as railway or power plant or certain other system, they can have apprenticeship training by National Apprenticeship Training Scheme, in which frontiers of technology such as artificial intelligence, drone technology, evolving and emergent areas including production linked incentive scheme and PM गति शक्ति प्रोग्राम. तो अप्रेंटिसशिप ट्रेनिंग के करने के लिए PM गति शक्ति योजना को के अंदर इस अप्रेंटिसशिप ट्रेनिंग को इंक्लूड कर दिया गया and it was included in production linked incentive, that is the PLI scheme which we studied in chapter 3. Remember this fact again, PLI scheme में से ऐड किया गया and a part of PM गति शक्ति योजना, Then Academic Bank of Credit, that digitalized the higher education institution for taking the credits earned and can be accounted for taking a loan from any of the government or non-government bank by the higher education institutions. तो क्रेडिट फैसिलिटी अवेल की गई, इंफॉर्मेशन एंड कम्युनिकेशन टेक्नोलॉजी को बढ़ावा दिया गया, अप्रेंटिसशिप ट्रेनिंग हो रही है, स्कूल गोइंग चिल्ड्रन के लिए ऑनलाइन क्लासेस हो रही है, एंड इन दिस वे गवर्नमेंट ग्रॉस्ड फॉर हायर एनरोलमेंट रेशियो. नाउ लुकिंग एट द नेक्स्ट, EPG पाठशाला, which you might have heard in the lockdown scenario, EPG Pathshala, that 154 universities take care of postgraduate students who want to pursue higher education in the universities by Swayam platform and by boosting massive online open courses. So two parts, first is the Swayam platform and next is the massive online open courses. These two were part of EPG program taken by 154 universities of India. Then next is Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, which has been boosting the colleagues leveraging higher education and to engage reputed higher educational institutions such as IITs, universities and other reputed central government and state government colleges and public and private institutions to understand and work in the rural areas, that again make a huge leap for the education of village people. So ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों के लिए उन्नत भारत अभियान. Then third is the scholarship for weaker sections to address the issue of higher education institution by students coming from weaker section such as deprived section and vulnerable sections of society. The college and universities provided special scholarship of 1.5 lakh per student, and also in the area of Jammu and Kashmir, which has been benefited 15,000 students in 21 and 22. Remember this data again. जम्मू कश्मीर के कितने विद्यार्थियों को ये फैसिलिटी दी गई? 15,000 students of Jammu and Kashmir. So again, scholarship scheme by universities and colleges under the weaker section scholarship program. This again 3 facts for your prelims as well as mains point of view. Next is the skill development initiative by Skill India Mission. So कौशल और दक्षता को प्रदान करने के लिए और स्किल ट्रेनिंग के लिए स्किल इंडिया मिशन चल रहा था ऑन द मिशन मोड. देन इन द लॉकडाउन सिनेरियो people were not able to go to the technical institution. Then skilling was started at the home level by providing the online training and skilling by the professors as well as the technocrats to the home itself. And it also provided under the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So कौशल विकास योजना के अंतर्गत जो फंडिंग आ रही थी फॉर स्किल ट्रेनिंग वो डायरेक्टली प्रोवाइड की गई बाय ऑनलाइन मॉड्यूल, ऑनलाइन ट्रेनिंग एंड स्किलिंग. Okay friends, remember this data for your prelims and mains point of view. Then Jan Shikshan Sansthan JSS scheme, the institutions were made open for the weaker section of society. जो समाज के गरीब तबके के लोग हैं, जो vulnerable sections हैं, उनके लिए skilling and training facility provide की गई. देन नेशनल अप्रेंटिसशिप प्रोग्राम स्कीम, जो मैंने आपको बता दिया, अप्रेंटिसशिप ट्रेनिंग इन ऑनलाइन मॉड्यूल. and which provide short term and long term skill training and craftsman training scheme CTS. तो जो craftsman training होती है that again needs a practical work for the craftsmanship. That was also in the online module provided that at the end of the semester the craftsmanship will be done in the laboratory based on the institutions. इसे आप ध्यान रखेंगे. And it was under the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana PMKVY, which provide the training to the श्रमिक्स, migrants laborers. तो migrants laborers जो सिटीज से अपने विलेजेस में वापस जा रहे थे, उनकी अप स्किलिंग के लिए और डेवलपमेंट के लिए प्रधानमंत्री कौशल विकास योजना के द्वारा उनकी गांव में ट्रेनिंग सेंटर खोले गए एंड विच प्रोवाइडेड द अप स्किल ट्रेनिंग टू द माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स. And several micro programs under PMKVY also conducted targeting artisans such as bunkers जो आ रहे थे, small landless laborers वापस आ रहे थे, तो उनकी स्किल डेवलपमेंट के लिए कुछ उन्हें सिलाई कढ़ाई सिखाया गया, कहीं पे उन्हें कुछ छोटे मोटे घरेलू काम सिखाया गए, कुछ इलेक्ट्रिकल वर्क सिखाए गए. सो ऐसे ऐसे करके छोटी छोटी स्किल ट्रेनिंग दी गई. एंड इन द पार्टनरशिप विद द प्राइवेट सेक्टर ऑल्सो टू इंश्योर एम्प्लॉयमेंट ऑफ आर्टिजन्स. प्राइवेट सेक्टर की भी इसमें भागीदारी रही. Next is जन शिक्षण संस्थान स्कीम. जन शिक्षण संस्थान again to skill vocational skill to non-literate and neo-literates, यानी कि illiterate peoples classified into non-literates and neo-literates, यानी वैसे लोग जो अशिक्षित थे और उन्होंने कुछ हद तक शिक्षा प्राप्त करके कोई कौशल के काम को करना सीखा, दैट आर कंसिडर्ड टू बी न्यू लिटरेट्स. तो ऐसे नए शिक्षित लोग और नॉन लिटरेट लोग की वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग दी गई. एंड इन द लेवल ऑफ 8th एंड स्कूल ड्रॉप आउट्स ऑफ 12th, यानी कि 8th क्लास से 12th क्लास के जो ड्रॉप आउट पर्सन्स थे और स्टूडेंट्स थे, उनकी शिक्षा व्यवस्था के लिए ये जन शिक्षण संस्थान बनाए गए. एंड द प्रायोरिटी वाज गिवन टू दी, इसमें भी प्रायोरिटी बेसिस पे किसे रखा गया? वीमेन, SC/STs एंड माइनॉरिटीज, दिव्यांगजन एंड अदर बैकवर्ड सेक्शंस ऑफ द सोसाइटीज. तो इसमें ये वल्नरेबल सेक्शंस आ गए मित्रों, दैट आर वीमेन, महिलाएं, SC/STs and Divyangjan who were suffering during the pandemic, then minorities in terms of Muslims, Sikhs, Jains, etc. Then the Jan Shikshan Sansthan work at the doorstep to go to the beneficiary and provide minimum infrastructure resource by the helping of NGOs and self-help group which were imparting the skill development program to the minorities and the vulnerable sections. यानी कि इस कार्यक्रम में NGOs और SSGs की मदद ली गई to upskilling the vulnerable sections of society who are drop out from 8th to 12th standard और जो कि नॉन लिटरेट हैं और नियो लिटरेट पीपल्स हैं. Remember this fact, very important. Then next is National Apprenticeship Program Scheme, which we discussed, that providing the financial support in terms of apprenticeship training and industrial engagement in the lockdown situation. तो इंडस्ट्रीज को फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट दिया गया एंड स्किल ट्रेनिंग ऑफ द पीपल under the National Apprenticeship Act of 1961. Remember this act, UPSC asked such act in prelims. Under which act apprenticeship was provided during the COVID lockdown situation? So the answer is Apprenticeship Act of 1961. Okay. Now, कंटिन्यूस फोकस ऑन ग्रोथ टू इराडिकेट दी पॉवर्टी. तो लॉकडाउन में हमने देखा कि मैल न्यूट्रिशन ऑन पॉवर्टी बिकेम अ चैलेंज विच अगेन इज अ सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल टू काउंटर दी पॉवर्टी. गोल नंबर 2, to eradicate poverty, government takes several measures which we see in the graph, that is National Skill Development Program per capita at constant prices and spread series. So it was reduced during the lockdown situation from 40 to -10. Then in the head count ratio we see that data is declining from 28 to 25. Rather it was very exact with the Gini coefficient. So Gini coefficient shows the inflation and unemployment ratio which leads to the poverty and inequality here also. So next is the Craftsman training scheme. So craftsmen who were suffering during the pandemic lockdown situation, so there were ITIs, local sectors में ITIs थे जो craftsmen को training दे रहे थे. So that were 14,600 ITIs, industrial training institutions, which were imparting the training to the craftsmen who were suffering during the pandemic. Then ASEEM portal launched by government, Atmanirbhar skilled employer mapping portal, that is ASEEM portal, a digital platform created to match the supply of skilled workforce with the market demand, acting as a directory of a skilled workforce. तो स्किल्ड वर्कफोर्स जो कि ट्रेंड और दक्ष कौशल युक्त व्यक्ति हैं, उनका एक डायरेक्टरी बनाया गया सरकार के द्वारा by registering the people who are skill imparted and allocating the job to those people who are sitting in the home due to the lockdown pandemic situation. That was done by ASEEM portal. Then India International Skill Center Framework, IISC network, to provide the foreign countries where Indian manpower is struggling. So we see in the Middle East countries such as UAE, Dubai, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, many Indian people work there in terms of various factories, plants and industries. So they were provided the supply and demand dynamics, and they were provided the assistance by providing them skill impartation and training, and by also making the skill based for overseas employment. India agreed with making new agreements with the Germany, United Kingdom, Belarus, France, Australia, Japan and Qatar in the field of apprenticeship training. तो जो फॉरेन नेशंस में इंडियंस काम कर रहे थे, तो इन देशों में अप्रेंटिसशिप ट्रेनिंग के लिए एग्रीमेंट साइन किया गया. देन प्रधानमंत्री दक्षता और कौशलता संपन्न हित गढ़ी योजना, कौशलता और दक्षता संपन्न हितग्रही योजना. And now this scheme aims to impart the skill development training program for the scheduled caste, backward classes and the safai कर्मचारीज who were sitting at the home due to the COVID lockdown scenario. तो उनको दक्ष बनाना और स्किल्ड बनाना. ये काम किया गया भाई प्रधानमंत्री दक्षता और कौशलता संपन्न हिताग्रही योजना. रिमेंबर अगेन फॉर योर प्रीलिम्स एंड मेंस. नाउ फॉर काउंटरिंग द नीड्स ऑफ हेल्थ, government also provided various health benefit via Ayushman Bharat Yojana, which prepared to care the approach and comprising of the interrelated components. जिसमें creation of 1,50,000 health and wellness centers बनाए गए, which again provided the primary, secondary and tertiary level health education, health care by taking the patient much care of essential free drugs. तो वैसे drugs that were necessary for the treatment of COVID patient that were made essentially free of cost under this scheme. So hydroxychloroquine, remdesivir, pinovir, such drugs were taken free of cost, and also the diagnostic services such as X-ray, blood test, semen test, they all made free of cost. Then Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, ABPMJAY, PMJ Yojana, which implemented under National Health Authority NHA and in partnership with the state governments to provide 5 lakh per family per year for the primary, secondary and tertiary care of hospitalization over 10.74 crores poor and vulnerable families at the bottom 40% of the Indian population. निचले तबके के 40% लोगों को सुविधाएं प्रदान करने के लिए ये योजना जन आरोग्य योजना के अंतर्गत 5 लाख का प्राइम, सेकेंडरी एंड टर्शियरी लेवल पे सुविधा प्रोवाइड की गई, which also catered the needs at the pandemic level. Then technological intervention to avail transparency and accountability. कोविड लॉकडाउन के टर्म में कोई भी घोटाला ना हो, करप्शन के केस ना आए, तो इसके लिए ट्रांसपेरेंसी and accountability measures लिए गए. First was IMIS to capture physical and financial progress. Second was taken off dashboard. Third was the mobile application based. Then fourth was the sensor based IoT Internet of Things solution to measurement and monitoring of water supply, quantity, quality and regularity in villages on real time basis. ग्रामीण स्तर पर जो जल की सप्लाई हो रही थी उसको देखने के लिए डैशबोर्ड, मोबाइल ऐप, सेंसर बेस्ड IoT, जियो टैगिंग एंड लिंकेज फॉर टैप कनेक्शन विथ आधार नंबर किया गया. देन ट्रांजैक्शन थ्रू पब्लिक फाइनेंस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम PMFF. ये 7 स्कीम्स की गई टू मेंटेन दी वाटर कनेक्टिविटी scheme and to ensure transparency and accountability. यानी कि उत्तरदायिता और पारदर्शिता बनाए रखने के लिए इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया के माध्यम से ये 7 चीज़ें की गई जिससे कि गांव तक टैप वाटर सप्लाई जारी है और वो ट्रांसपेरेंट है और अकाउंटेबल है. देन नेक्स्ट इज ई संजीवनी. सो the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare upgraded the Sanjeevani application to enable patient to doctor directly. ई संजीवनी ऐप जो भारत सरकार ने चलाया हुआ था उसे गवर्नमेंट ने इनेबल किया इन ऑनलाइन मॉड्यूल फॉर टेली कंसल्टेशन टू इंश्योर कंटिन्यूम ऑफ केयर, फैसिलिटेट हेल्थ सर्विसेज टू ऑल द सिटीजन इन द कंट्री. रिमेंबर दिस वेरी वेरी ब्रॉड पॉइंट. ई संजीवनी में क्या किया गया मित्रों? टू कैटर द नीड्स ऑफ ऑल सिटीजन्स ऑफ इंडिया, bringing the direct connection with the doctor to the patient sitting at the door via mobile app eSanjeevani, which was also rolled down in 36 state and union territories. तो किसी को सलाह चाहिए कि डॉक्टर साहब मैं ये मेडिसिन ले सकता हूँ, whether it is being synchronized with other medicine also. We are facing such problem of nose and throat or bronchial situation for old age. तो उसके लिए डायरेक्टली डॉक्टर सलाह देते थे एंड दे कैटर द नीड्स ऑफ द पेशेंट एट देयर होम वाया ई संजीवनी ऐप. देन हेल्थ आउटकम्स जो हुए उनके लिए इंडिकेटर्स कुछ हैं जो कि सर्वे दिखा रहा है. नाउ इंडिया हैज मेड सिग्निफिकेंट प्रोग्रेस इन इम्प्रूविंग इट्स हेल्थ आउटकम्स बाय एलिमिनेटिंग पल्स पोलियो, गिनिया वॉर्म डिजीज, yawn and maternal and neonatal tetanus. Remember this fact for your prelims as well as mains. 20 सालों में इंडिया ने पल्स पोलियो को, टेटनस को, यौन को और गिनिया वॉर्म डिजीज को एलिमिनेट कर दिया है. That again pays a huge leap for India. Then functional household tap connection. टैप कनेक्शन कितने राज्यों में कहाँ तक पहुँचे हैं? So 0 to 10% shows in 2019 data that entire Uttarakhand, UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal was 0 to 10% of tap connection. यानी नल के जल घरों घरों तक मात्र 10% के रेंज में थे 2019 के डेटा में, which was increased to 2nd January 2022. 51 to 75% के रेंज में आ रहे हैं पूरे बिहार के क्षेत्र में. then 76 to 100% in Telangana. then again Gujarat 76 to 100, Gujarat again this Haryana region, then Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir UT, they all came under 76 to 100%. then Madhya Pradesh 51 to 75% in tap connection, but Uttar Pradesh is still lagging to 10% only. Remember this data for your prelims and mains point of view. Now, as per the latest National Family Health Survey, 5 social indicators such as total fertility rate, sex ratio and health outcome indicators such as infant mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate, institutional birth rate have improved over year 2015 से 16 के तुलनात्मक अध्ययन से हमें पता चलता है कि इन्फेंट मोर्टेलिटी रेट, मैटरनल मोर्टेलिटी रेट एंड लाइव बर्थ रेट यानी कि मातृ मृत्यु दर, शिशु मृत्यु दर और इंस्टीट्यूशनल बर्थ रेट यानी संस्थागत जन्म की दर काफ़ी इम्प्रूव हुई है. एंड देयर वाज डेफिशिएंसी अमॉन्ग चिल्ड्रन. सो सरकार के द्वारा जो डेफिशिएंसी डिजीज बच्चों में देखी जा रही थी उनको भी इम्प्रूव किया गया बाय पोषण अभियान वाया March 2018 which helped the status of children 0 to 6 years of age, adolescent girl, pregnant women and lactating mothers. तो पोषण अभियान के द्वारा किनके हेल्थ को इंश्योर किया जा रहा है मित्रों? द एडोलसेंट गर्ल्स, लैक्टेटिंग वुमेन, प्रेग्नेंट वुमेन एंड द स्टंटिंग एंड वेस्टिंग चिल्ड्रन, ऐसे बच्चे जो कुपोषण ग्रस्त हो रहे हैं, एज वेल एज रिड्यूसिंग एनीमिया इन द वीमेन, ऐसी महिलाएं जिनमें रक्त की कमी हो रही है, एनीमिक हो रही हैं, तो उनको पोषण अभियान से मदद की गई इन लॉकडाउन सिनेरियो. रिमेंबर दिस फैक्ट, वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो एनीमिक वुमेन, चिल्ड्रन एंड एडोलेसेंट गर्ल्स को इस अभियान के द्वारा न्यूट्रिशन प्रोवाइड किया गया एट वेरी चीपर कॉस्ट. Now, next is the sex ratio, number of female per 1000 males in the total population, which rise from 991 female in 2015-16 to 1020 in 2021-2022. 2020-21 में जो फीमेल की रेशियो है, that means the sex ratio again increased at a good rate. And more than the sex ratio at birth, importantly increased with the female children at 1000 male children born in the last 5 years was 929 in 2021. So 929 बालिकाओं की संख्या रही 2021 के आंकड़े में, यानी कि गर्ल्स लाइफ इज improving, which again mean gender parity is increasing, which is in sustainable development goals of United Nations. Now, National Family Health Survey 5 shows that the total fertility rate and average number of children per woman come down to 2 in 2019 from 2.2 in 2015-16. So average fertility rate, that is total fertility rate 2.2 से improve होके 2% पे आया and came down to the below replacement level of fertility, that is 2.1 children per woman. Remember this data again. Then life expectancy at birth was 69.4 years. The period of 2014-18 यानी 2014-18 में 69.4 ईयर्स किसी भी व्यक्ति की एवरेज औसत आयु थी, जो कि इंक्रीज्ड होके 0.4 ईयर्स बढ़ गई फ्रॉम 2013 टू 17, यानी 2013 और 17 के बीच जो आंकड़ा था उससे हमने 0.4% ईयर का ग्रोथ पाया. Next is the drinking water and sanitation, which is seen in the Jal Jeevan Mission JJM. जल जीवन मिशन के द्वारा हमने रूरल टैप हाउस कनेक्टिविटी को बढ़ाया, रूरल वाटर अवेलेबिलिटी, and we also provide adequate safe drinking water through the individual household tap connection to all household in the rural India by 2024. Which again makes the importance of the household tap connectivity at the higher level by providing supply of portable pipe water service level to 55 liter per capita per day regularly on long term basis, and also to ensure the functionality of tap water connection यानी कि प्रति व्यक्ति प्रत्येक घर में 55 लीटर पानी पहुंचाने की सुविधा गवर्नमेंट ने अवेल की, दैट इज फंक्शनल टैप वाटर कनेक्शन FSTC, functional household tap connection. So we see that government has quite improved the data in terms of tap water connection than Swachh Bharat Mission Gramin, which again paved that rural sanitation has made tremendous progress under Gramin Mission as on 20th December 2021, and more than 10.86 crore toilets have been built in rural India. तो अभी के लिए इतना ही हम रखते हैं. We will take a short break of 10 minutes and just take a tea or coffee and then join back with me to discuss the economic survey in detail. Thank you.